So the path to recreational cannabis has been a long one, and frankly, when we finally got there, we really screwed it up, and it has caused a lot of problems. Hopefully, it hasn't caused too many problems for some of the folks in the room here, but it has been an issue, and it has hurt people. It has hurt investors. It has hurt people who put their whole life savings into this industry. I carry the therapeutic psilocybin bill in the assembly, and I've carried it for about 2 years. And so, thank you. We have a program in New York State, if I can get my damn bill passed, that will put millions of dollars into this to make it accessible for a wide variety of folks, because it is cost prohibitive, or it could be. So, frankly, I didn't do this to make sure rich people could take psilocybin and MDMA. I'm doing it for a public benefit. When it started out, the big challenge was everyone thought I was crazy for doing something like this. They thought it was political malfeasance. I was gonna get thrown out of office, and it turned out they were dead wrong. And this is extraordinarily popular. So I started out. My colleagues literally laughed at me, and now there are almost 50 co-sponsors in the New York State Assembly from across the state. The reason I do this more than anything is that I think it's going to save people's lives. And if it doesn't actually save their actual lives, it's going to allow people to thrive. I think we're in a society that is broken. People feel isolated. They don't know how to connect with people. And this is an incredible tool to do that. So that's why I'm doing it. And
our focus goal at Samadhi Therapy is to help people with trauma. And the response that we see to psychedelic therapy with trauma is like nothing that's ever been seen. One of the things that's commonly misunderstood is that the FDA has labeled psilocybin, MDMA, even LSD as breakthrough drugs, and so people get the idea, well, it must be the drug. But if you look in it closely, if you look at the studies, what you're really seeing is a procedure, not a drug. And I've done procedures my whole career, and I know what a procedure looks like. You have a special room, you have special equipment, you have specially trained individuals, and then you come in and you work with someone. And that's exactly what psychedelic therapy looks like. I have seen unbelievable changes in people that are living with the effects of PTSD, and there's a host of diseases that we used to think of as separate entities, like depression and alcohol use disorder, and even OCD, and many of these things. Actually, they turn out to, when you treat the underlying trauma, many of these things just melt away. The anxiety just melts away.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm Lisa Smith. I'm an attorney with Phillips Lytle. I co-chair our healthcare and life sciences team and chair our therapeutic psychedelics team. And I come at this as someone who's represented a global pharmaceutical company for 15 years of my career, 10 of those years spent defending an SSRI antidepressant that really opened my eyes to patients who had treatment-resistant depression. And what really struck me about the science on psychedelics right now, psilocybin and MDA, is that it's real, it's legitimate, and I'm encouraged by FDA granting these compounds breakthrough therapy designation. For doctors, they just have to be mindful of both the federal and state regulatory and legal situation. One thing I love about Pat Burke's psilocybin bills is it lays out who could be a facilitator of these therapies, and it's expansive. It's not restrictive. We all know what our healthcare situation is now. We don't have enough psychiatrists and mental health professionals right now.
I was on a call yesterday morning with the 5 top cancer doctors in India, and they were questioning about how to develop cannabis in cancer patients in India. And the real focus was, the problem is that you need to test these products.
So my name's Tom McManus. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DRS Testing. We are a compliance testing lab right here in downtown Buffalo. And we partner with cultivators and processors to help them get safe, compliant products to the dispensaries as fast as possible.
There's 2 issues. One is the contaminants. And if you look at the studies done in Holland and by Ethan Russo out in Washington, you'll see that there's a significant amount of contaminants heavy metals, pesticides, insecticides. Most of you already know this. There's also another issue, is when you take a cannabis, what's the THC, CBD, the terpene ratios, or the minor cannabinoids? You need to know that, because recreational's over here. I'm talking about medical. But when you do recreational, you also have to consider that there's contaminants in recreational. And because the plant itself is a filtering plant. I'm not sure if you were in Chernobyl in Ukraine, when they had the atomic explosion, they planted cannabis plant around the factory because it neutralized the ground. I support testing. The problem with testing in New York State is that it made everything expensive.
I've had firsthand experience with several of you in the crowd. I recognize a lot of faces. I have a master's in education, and I think I bring forth like a comfortability to have people open up and ask questions. And I have used cannabis for 20 plus years. How that helps me, how to break stigmas with parents. I'm a mom, and I have a 12-year-old that he's grown up with cannabis. And then when you add mushrooms in, one of the fascinating things for me to share is like, oh, we're really like genetically close in DNA to a mushroom. And I don't know if people know that, but the more mushrooms we consume, the more we're like, I guess, connected to the universe.
We have to respect what's going on internally within us and our bio-individuality, and then I think it would be good to have an expert or a medical person to be in touch with, or some type of data platform to say, these are my ailments, what particular strain or terpene profile would potentially help me for this, and then we could shop strains that way. There's no two people that are alike, and each strain is going to affect everybody a little bit differently. Uneducating ourselves to re-educate ourselves. So it's not necessarily about the percentages or what the strongest stuff is. If you're looking at it at a medicinal standpoint or an aspect, we need to find out which one is going to work best for us. It's not just about getting high, but how can it be medicinally beneficial?
We need to legitimize the business of cannabis. And again, I'm talking about medical cannabis, not recreational. It's a different animal completely. And I really think that if you're going to have a store, you should have everything that benefits human beings, from THC products, we call that chemovar type 1, to CBD products, or the combination of two. And a lot of stores I see just don't have CBD because I don't see the profit margin to it. And that is a mistake, because we're treating human beings. And most people who use recreational do use it for medical reasons.
Do you feel that you need to have experience in using psychedelics to treat people?
You know, there's no way that in psychiatry we would want someone to have to take an antipsychotic medicine or an antidepressant in order to give it to a patient. But you know, in the field of psychedelic medicine, what we're really seeing is that the ethic is that, exactly as Rohini said, that we really aren't able to give this kind of medicine to patients ourselves if we haven't done this work, if we haven't done it ourselves. When we're doing this kind of therapy with people, I tell patients we're part doctors and part Sherpa. Our goal is to try to show you just where we put our foot, you know. And so we have to come, patients, when they come to see us, clients, when they come to see us, they need to feel safe, right? And does it make you feel safe if you have someone that's like sitting behind a desk writing a prescription, as opposed to someone who's been there and relates to you? We have a consciousness in our group of the fact that not everybody that needs psychedelic therapy can afford it. And that in fact, if you suffer from the effects of trauma, you're less likely to be able to afford it. You're less likely to be able to hold down a job and do the things that are necessary to pay for it. And with that in mind, Sean Coleman and myself formed a nonprofit called the Center for Healing Intelligence. And part of the purpose, besides education and research for this nonprofit, is to raise money to help pay for psychedelic therapy for people who can't afford it. And we think that it's something that, you know, has the ability of changing the society that we live in.